Thanks everyone for joining our March edition of the Early Careers Branch meetings. Patrick, you're going to give us a great presentation on product technology for beginners and the route that we can follow now with through the British Institute of NDT.
Thank you for the introduction, Sam, and thank you for the opportunity for allowing me this presentation slot. I'm hoping it's going to provide not only beginners or aspirant PCN candidates with some relevant information, but also some persons that are already, PCN certified or SNTC certified. Other certification systems. It's equally applicable to all certification bodies. So I'm going to talk to you about product technology today for beginners, and as I've just said, it's not exclusively for beginners. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Patrick Boulton. I'm a technical and certification engineer here at the British Institute of Non-Destructive Testing. I've been with the Institute now for around about 10 years. I joined late in October 2014, so it's almost come up to 11 years this year. And prior to that, I spent 24 years with British Airways as a non-destructive testing engineer within the aerospace sector, and also an engine and airframes engineer. So I've had a varied career, not only in NDT and not only with the British Institute, but yeah, so that's me in a nutshell. So what are today's presentation's aims and objectives? Well, I'd like to inform you of the requirements that have been placed upon not only BINDT, but also aspirant PCN candidates for the need to become conversant with product technology and the materials and processes behind product technology, and also the defects that can be implanted within a product, within a material, within a structure during the manufacturing and or in service life. We're going to be looking at producing a package of learning material to provide aspirant PCN candidates with knowledge of materials and processes. And this is prior to any NDT method training. And this is so you guys can assess both undamaged and damaged structure, and the implications behind the type of damage that's in those structures or components using various NDT methods. And if you're using one NDT method, you'll be able to have the knowledge to apply another NDT method depending on where the damage is, whether it's surface or subsurface in various scenarios. So why are we talking about product technology today? Well, BSEN ISO 9712-2022 has given us some prior considerations that we have to take into account. And this is to ensure that the candidates have, before they go on an NDT main method course, prior knowledge of materials and processes, i.e. product technology. Now, when we talk about materials and processes and the requirement for that prior knowledge, we're also within 9712 looking at additional knowledge for mathematical skills. So particularly within the UK, it's easy to formulate an individual's specific knowledge for mathematical skills, typically through use of such things as GCSEs, A levels, and degrees, etc. So we can look at those filters, excuse me, to see if we believe that the individual has those mathematical skills before they embark on any NDT learning material. It's somewhat more difficult to carry out that particular role and filtering mechanism for materials and processes. So what 9712 has said is that, is effectively given us a remit to go away and produce a package of learning material in order to provide the individual, the aspirant certificate holder, with that specific knowledge before they actually embark on their NDT method learning. So 9712 at 7.2 relates everything back to training. and it informs us that the minimum duration of training necessary to impart those skills and knowledge required for certification shall not be less than the duration specified in 9712 Table 2. And that's for each individual NDT method. So if we were to look at Table 2 in ISO 9712, and many of you guys will be familiar with this table, the ATOs and the AQBs will be familiar with this table. These are now the number of days that the training school have been mandated to provide to any person wishing to partake on an NDT method course. Now, if the individual who's partaking on that course does not have the required level of materials or product technology knowledge, then the standard says that we may have to extend these days. So this is the whole reason why BINDT has been mandated to produce the product technology course.
Patrick, do you know on the last one?
Yes, Sam.
I imagine, just for the people that might not know, it's adding up. So for level 2, is that direct? That's not direct access, is it?
No, so the levels are cumulative. So if we were to take, let's go to MT. So level 1 would you would be looking to have achieved or been given, provided with a minimum of 3 days training. If you want to go to level 2, that would be 5 days. So if you already hold a level 1 certificate, you could effectively have another 2 days training to take you up to the requirements for level 2. But in total, if you wanted to go direct to level 2, then it would be a period of 5 days training. And what we've specified, or what we've said within PCNGen and within the Institute, is that although there are a number of days, the minimum hours within any one day would be 7, but we wouldn't expect to see any more than 10 hours training in any one day. And this is to help the ATOs fit this schedule into what may already have been an agreed training schedule that they were using under the 2012 system. So there is that little bit of pragmatism and flexibility there to allow the ATOs to kind of manipulate these figures slightly. So that's how we've agreed to work it. So that element of training, combined with a number of let's say self-study hours or homework hours in the evening, will hopefully bring us within, if a candidate was going direct to level 2, it would probably allow you guys to provide 4 days training and then the examination on the Friday, which is kind of how the process is taking place at the moment, because essentially the syllabus hasn't changed. So moving on, and as we've just said, so the hours that were displayed in Table 2 are actually based upon you guys having that knowledge of materials and processes stroke mathematical skills. And as we've said, this could be confirmed by prior education. And if this is not the case, then we've just confirmed that additional training may be required. So looking into the background in a little bit more in depth, a little bit more detail, throughout the BINDT's committee structure, and by the committee structure I mean we have committees for the Certification and Technical Committee, we have the Certification and Management Committee. There was an industry perception that there were or are current knowledge gaps, often in an individual's ability when it came to materials and processes or product technology. They might not necessarily have had the desired or the required knowledge of engineering materials and how engineering materials are produced. They may not have had the required knowledge about the manufacturing of products, how they're produced, whether they're extruded, whether they're cast, whether they're machined, etc. So this is everything that we were tasked to look at as an organisation through BINDT's Certification Management Committee. So just to give you a little bit of background, the BINDT CMC consists of a minimum of 52% industry members, and it was those industry members that were feeding back through the institute their ideas on how we might provide the individual, the aspirant PCN candidate, with additional knowledge of product technology. So what they asked us to do as an organisation was to form a working group. And that working group consisted of a number of BINDT staff, a number of BINDT's committee members, and also a number of industry members. And they tasked us initially to look at seeking an organisation with the relevant skills set to provide some online learning material, some online blended learning material that could be studied in the candidate's own time across various multimedia platforms, such as a mobile phone, such as a laptop, a desktop computer, or a tablet. So they would be able to have the ability to study in their own time while they were away working, at home, on holiday. Well, on holiday, I very much doubt, but yeah. So that we were giving them the opportunity to dip in and dip out of the learning material at will and across several platforms, with the whole ethos being that once the candidate had been through the learning material, understood the learning material, been successful in a number of quizzes, and then passed an end of course exam, they would have that dedicated element of product technology knowledge for materials, for various product sectors, i.e. the aerospace, the rail, the oil and gas sector, and be able to apply that learned knowledge that they've gained for those particular materials and products to any relevant NDT that they may have to apply to those products and within those sectors at some point in their future. So what we were looking at doing really was building a more well-rounded individual with the skill sets to be able to apply the knowledge of NDT within a particular method, and then for them to be able to reveal the particular defects that they were being asked to reveal. So how did we develop the product technology learning module in itself? So as I said, going back to the CMC element, they tasked us to develop a syllabus, and their particular areas of focus were on metals, how metals were manufactured, what were the constituent components of metals and alloys. They wanted us to look at new technologies such as additive manufacturing. So it's I think additive manufacturing is becoming more and more mainstream. But when we first embarked on this process, there were kind of anomalies in that we didn't really know what defects we were looking for that were related to the additive manufacturing process itself. So we've actually inbuilt this element into the course as well. And of course, we're also looking at non-metals. So throughout the use of the aerospace sector, the marine sector, the power generation sector, and in particular with such things as wind turbines, the use of composite materials is also becoming much more commonplace. So we were tasked to add this into the product technology module with the remit that we would look at metals, additive manufacturing, and also non-metals. Within this scope of approval as well, we've also embarked on development of a marine certification process with the Southwest School of NDT, and also Laser Optical, which are based in Leicester, and we're particularly going to be applying what we've developed here into the marine sector as well. So this is something that would be happening at some point later in the future of this learning package. So what does 9712 essentially say that we need to know? Well, it gives us some basic parameters, or should I say, we've laid down some basic parameters in such that we're going to be looking at products and materials, the fabrication processes, and the likely in-service conditions that might lead to a defect being implanted into a material or a product during that manufacturing process. So when we look at things such as casting and extrusion, etc., then we're actually focusing on the typical defects that might be seeded or embedded within a product during its manufacturing life. We're also going to be looking at this for in-service conditions. So for those installations such as oil and gas platforms, or let's say an aircraft that's been in service for 10, 15, 20 years, we're also going to be looking at those in-service conditions such as corrosion and fatigue cracking, which present as vastly different defects on a UT set or on a radiograph to those defects that may have been seeded during the manufacturing process. We're doing this so we can give the candidate, as I say, the correct selection of knowledge to be able to apply suitable NDT techniques within the method to reveal those associated defects. And then once they've revealed a defect, to be able to apply a secondary NDT method and technique to confirm those defects as well. So it's about knowing whether they're surface breaking or subsurface, whether it's a corrosion or a fatigue crack, etc. So it's about having that combined and embedded knowledge that makes the individual invaluable, shall we say. So how are we going to do this? Well, we've developed an online stroke self-study or blended learning package. And as I said earlier, we can provide this package through various platforms such as laptops, phones, tablets, etc. There will be an element of provided tutor support, and where the candidate is successful, they will be issued with a PCN credit for product technology. So the actual learning material and the successful completion of this package of knowledge actually comes with some value, in so much that you will be given a PCN credit for product technology, which you can take to other certification bodies if you so wish. And when we talk about other certification bodies, we gave a presentation in South Korea at the latter end of last year. It was surprising that other certification bodies hadn't actually complied with this or the requirements of 9712. And we got some pretty good feedback on the progress that we'd made and our intentions to provide this. So whether other organisations look to use what PCN and BINDT have developed, or they embark on developing their own products, then I think we can watch this space at some point in the future. But it certainly pricked ears up within other certification bodies that, as I say, have to comply with all those requirements within 9712. So how did we develop this learning package? Well, CMC gave us a remit, and we put a tender out to several organisations, or all those organisations that wanted to apply to provide the learning package. So from within those tenders that we received back into the institute, and this is the institute being open and honest and transparent, all the tenders were reviewed by the working group, and then by the certification management committee, and an organisation called Wilkinson Coutts was selected based upon their levels of product knowledge, their time spent within the industry sector, their current IT capabilities, to be able to produce this learning material. So we've been working closely with a gentleman called Paul Wilkinson, who's one of the managing directors at Wilkinson Coutts, and also Craig Coutts, who's one of the technical directors. So these are predominantly the two gents that we've been working with, and the organisation. But allied to this, we've had IT support from Wilkinson Coutts in order to be able to produce this package of learning material. So the course material development. So really what we wanted to do was to produce some course or blended learning material that was interactive, that had videos embedded within the material. When I first started my NDT career, and I'm sure if there are people of my age and older on the call today, I remember watching VHS videos, YouTube videos in black and white of old rolling mills and etc. And it was some of it was really good, still really relevant today, but it wasn't up to it wasn't fresh, it wasn't modern, and it wasn't up to date. So we've embedded a number of videos within the training package. We have paragraphs of reading, and we also have quizzes to keep the aspirant candidate engaged and interacting with the product itself. So we had a number of learning objectives, and the first one was to achieve PCN certification for product technology, or a PCN credit. We wanted the candidate to gain a thorough understanding of industrial materials. We wanted the candidate to be able to apply the knowledge learned at the end of this course throughout their future career, whether that might be as a level 2 practitioner or as a level 3 who's leading an organization, an NDT department, or a consultancy service. But above all, we wanted to make the learning experience enjoyable. We wanted to make it fun. So I hope that gives you a brief insight as to some of our objectives that was applied to Wilkinson Coutts in development of the learning material. So I'm going to now take you through some example imagery that appears within the course itself, and how the learning modules are interactive, and what a candidate might be expected to see during their onboarding and participation in the course. So we talked about video presentations earlier. So this gentleman on the screen at the moment, he's interactive. He's an AI bot. I think they're the terms for it. And he's essentially artificially generated, who talks to the aspirant candidate about product technology. The video presentations and all the literature that the candidate is expected to read, absorb, become familiar with and learn has a number of time spans put on the video. And you'll notice that on the left-hand side, there's a light blue arrow, and on the right-hand side, there's a darker blue arrow. So when the candidate has spent the required amount of time on that particular page or within that particular module, then the course itself will allow the candidate to move on to the next element or section or page of the learning material. So it's not been designed for the candidate just to flick through page after page after page after page. As I say, we want the candidate to view the material, understand the material, at the end of the material, enjoy a quiz scenario, and then once you've passed, got the sufficient mark to move through the quiz, you can move on to the next learning experience. So the media itself is modern, it's up to date, it's fresh. So this would be one of the screenshots from within the embedded course material itself. As I say, it's not looking at old 1940s black and white material. It's modern, it's fresh, and it's up to date, and it's relevant to those factories producing materials and components in today's industrial environment. This would be an example of one of the reading pages where the candidate would be expected to read a passage of literature, a passage of text. The text is embedded with also diagrams, materials, pictures, and as you can see, the arrow on the right-hand side now has gone dark blue, which indicates that the candidate has spent the required amount of time that the package has dedicated them to read the text and understand the material. So if they were to click on the right-hand arrow, they could then progress to the next page. So when we talk about quizzes and module examination questions, etc., rather than just having a passage of text and a list of 4 possible answers, one which may be correct or more correct than the other 3, which may be incorrect or wrong or not quite as correct as the first answer, then this is how we're seeking to keep the candidate engaged. So in this question, I think the emphasis was placed upon association with words and also pictures, in that the candidate would then be required to drag and drop the associated words onto the picture and then submit their answer into the learning package for review by the package itself. So when we talk about review by the package will review your answers and then let you know whether you've been successful in your selection, or if not, it would ask you to redo the quiz. So in this particular element, the candidate's been asked to drag and drop, as I said, and I think it was actually me that did this question, so I was actually correct in my assumption. And as I'm correct, the package then allows me to move on to the next section. We talked about reading text and also being provided with a list of 4 possible answers as per an old legacy style PCN question. So we've also got those type questions within the learning material itself. So it's not, the learning material in the quizzes don't just consist of one type of interaction. So as I said, there's visual interaction, and there's the old type PCN question interaction as well. And I think I got this one wrong. So it's informed me that I've selected the wrong answer, so I would have to go back and reattempt this question.
Patrick,
yes, Sam.
we just have a question from Denise, I believe.
Yeah, just a question for myself regarding the kind of quiz questions and answers. Are the candidates then, have they got a number of attempts before the right answer is kind of given, or is it a continuous one?
It's
where you keep trying.
I do believe it's a continuous process. So it will take you back through the learning material. So the questions won't be the same. So we're not looking for a candidate to memorize what they got wrong and then try and change their answer at the next attempt. It should be a process whereby you learn the material itself, but the question might be worded in a slightly different way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's just from like previous experience, essentially. Doing exam questions. I've kind of I've learned more from knowing the wrong answer, but then obviously given a number of tries and having that extra information explaining why that was the right answer to kind of reconfirm why I got it wrong, or eventually why I got it right in the end.
Yeah.
So you hope.
Yeah. So you can't move on through the learning material, or you can't essentially successfully pass the learning material until you've moved successfully through the quizzes. So you can see on the screen at the moment that there's a passing score of 80% being implemented, and that was to meet the EN 4179 and PCN aerospace level as well. So for EN 4179 questions, there's a requirement to pass all exams at 80%. So we've had to set this at 80% within the learning material to take that question on board as well.
Right. Got you. Thank you.
So finally, after reattempting the quiz, you can see that I passed the quiz, and then that allows me to move on through the learning material. And if you look at the top right-hand screen, it allows me to click onto the next lesson. So examples of modules. So module 2 would be based upon the manufacturing processes and castings, etc. So these are typical screenshots of what the candidate would be presented with on their interactive device. So they can start the course and then the next lesson. Module 3 also provides the candidate with an introduction to non-destructive testing in its most basic form. And it provides the candidates with a brief knowledge of non-destructive testing and the typical methods and techniques that they could apply to reveal certain defects within certain materials or products. And once you've actually continued your way and been successful throughout the quizzes and also the modules, there's a BINDT final exam. And to have successfully passed the course, there will be questions asked on each module that the candidate has studied. And as I say, that will be a pass grade of 80%. We've had candidates go through the course and they're typically achieving pass rates of 94, 95%. What we're also looking to do is to possibly tailor the level 3 questions that PCN ask within a basic examination to the learning material that's been developed. So not only will there be an opportunity for new aspirant PCN candidates to sit and study the material, but there'll also be the potential or possibility of BINDT mapping the level 3 basic exam to the material that's been produced. So that's an opportunity that we might be looking to move forward at some point in the future.
Patrick, we
Yes, Sam.
just have a question from Julian in the chat, and he's asked, does BINDT/PCN have info on this online?
Right, so we're actually going through a process at the moment of finalising all the IT backroom requirements. We're going to be releasing a number of PCN advisories to all the ATOs and AQBs very shortly. We're also going to embark on a social media campaign, and we will also be putting like a user guide onto the BINDT website. So all that development work is actually taking place as we speak now, in order to provide you guys with the relevant information required for you to successfully onboard yourselves, log on to the material, and then progress your studies. So I hope that answers your question, Julian. But if you've got any other questions, you can email me directly as well. So when we look at ISO requirements, we talked about mathematical ability. And this is something that we're also going to be looking to develop at some point in the near future. So we may, where we can't confirm the candidate's ability with their mathematical ability before they start a course through prior education, then we're also looking to put together a small online blended learning course of mathematics, which would include addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, transposition of formula, etc. Just enough to get the candidate through through the UT or the RT modules that they would be expected to learn. And this is to stop the tutors being engaged with one candidate for more time than should really be expected, and to allow the tutor to engage with the whole of the classroom rather than taking one candidate through a mathematics course as well. So this is something that we're looking to progress in the not too distant future, and I suspect that the same tendering type process will go out to allow us to develop that particular blended learning module. So I've been Patrick Boulton. My details are on the screen. I hope that's given you a brief insight as to what we're doing, why we've had to do it, and how we're progressing. We're also looking to embed the learning modules within the NDT apprenticeship scheme. And I'm pleased to announce that for all those NDT apprentices that select BINDT as their endpoint assessor, then we will be providing this material free of charge. So BINDT will actually pay for the candidates to participate on the course. For all other candidates who have to participate on the course, it's a nominal fee of, I think it's around about £60 there or thereabouts. And we have to make that charge because we have to pay for the learning management system that the material sits within. So that's just basically a fee that we have to pay to keep the process going. So if you've got any other questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them now, Sam, or at least have a go at answering them.
All good, mate. Thank you very much for that. It was really good insight, and I think like what Julia mentioned about pushing it out online now is really important, isn't it? To get it out to the people that will be doing it, and it's hard to go out to the people that it applies to initially, the ones that don't have level 2 certs, because we don't know who that is yet. So that's why, like you mentioned about giving the information to training schools, I think that's one of the key elements that BINDT PCN have got to do now. And Raymondo has said thanks in the chat as well for that. So I bet he appreciates that communications now is all ongoing. We do have someone who's put their hand up. He's put his hand up. Ray, do you want to speak, Ray?
Any opportunity to talk.
I know. Why is he turning this down?
Could also be on mute. Oh, there we go.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
We
you can hear you loud and
can.
clear.
All right. Okay. Thanks very much. Okay, I did press the hand by mistake. It was actually trying to leave a message just to say thanks very much for the information that you've given, Patrick. And, you know, as an ATO, AQB, we'll be very much behind you and give you all the support we can. The information coming through to us, we'll distribute that, you know, between all the customers and individuals that we deal with. Basically, that was what I was going to say in the message. Okay, but thanks very much for your presentation this afternoon. And I'm sure we'll be having lots of conversations in due time.
I suspect so, Ray. No, thank you for your comments. Appreciate that. Just to give you guys another heads up, we were looking to initially roll this out within the first half of April. The goal is that we get this out within the first half of April 2025. However, for those persons that are enrolled on a course, this is going to be a transition period, Sam. So we wouldn't expect everybody to have sat the course if they're already enrolled on a course. You know, we're gonna look at this in a pragmatic way, and it might be that we have to adopt a period of, let's say, and I'm going to say this off the top of my head, 6 months as a transition period in order to onboard those candidates. But this also, I wanted to say, is more a generic product technology course, and it doesn't detract from the ATO's ability and requirements to provide that tailored and focused element of specific product technology within an NDT method course. So if someone was being taught UT of welds, the ATO and the would teach them the specific product technology that sits behind the UT of welds. So whereas this is a generalization for product technology, the candidate will also learn the specific elements of product technology on a dedicated NDT course.
Perfect. Thanks, Patrick. That was great. And Duncan's put, thanks very much, Patrick. Very informative. So I'll just see if we've got any other questions in here. I did have a question, Patrick, about so if someone does hold NDT level 2 qualification, so it's not necessarily relevant to them to conduct, but if they wanted to do it for like CPD points and things like that, would that be related to like your CP16 renewals?
Yeah, I think it's been agreed that we're also going to apportion CPD points for anybody that, you know, successfully completes the course as well. And I suppose from my personal opinion, even though I might not have to do it as a level 3, I probably would do it because it's open to everybody and it's going to reinforce, you know, those areas of product technology that I might have become weak on or forgotten because I've been out of the physical practical testing environment for around about 10 years now. So it's not purely aimed at those aspirant PCN candidates just coming into the system, but it's also open and available to anybody really who has an interest in product tech and wants to sit the course, Sam.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I've got last question, really, unless anyone else has got one. But mine was, so you mentioned about other certification bodies and that they thought that this was a really good way forward. What the ones that had got something in place, what were they doing?
Sam, I think we're the first.
All right. Okay.
And there was an element of we've not considered this when we presented this in at the World NDT conference in 2024. So whether we license the product to other certification bodies or we make it free and open source for anybody to log on, is, you know, there are opportunities out there that we've not yet explored. But as I say, we were the first certification body to consider this. But notwithstanding that, it does apply to all certification bodies.
Yeah. Interesting. That'd be a good one to watch the space, really, wouldn't it? And see where we're at, and if there's opportunities for BINDT to maximize on their economic income from that?
We don't take that. There won't be any income generated from this, Sam. It's
Or is it
purely
just going back?
it's purely
Yeah.
self-funding. Yeah, it's part of BINDT's charitable ethos. You know that where we can, we will offer something back into the NDT environment, and we didn't want to be seen to be introducing something that we could be accused of just profiteering on. It's not about profiteering. It's about providing the aspirant PCN candidate or NDT candidate through all certification bodies with that element of knowledge required for them to move on to do their NDT training.
That might have been the salesman inside just coming out.
It could have been, Sam. Yeah, you could sell snow to the Eskimos, couldn't you?
Anyone got any more questions for Patrick? Paul Rooney said thank you, Patrick and Sam. So thanks, Paul. Thanks for coming, and thanks everyone for attending. Obviously, last couple of early careers branch meetings have been really well attended, so we all appreciate that, and hopefully you'll all keep coming as long as we keep getting some good presenters like Patrick and good topics to discuss, really. So that's the idea anyway.
Thank you,
Not
Sam.
a question from myself, but yeah, thank you, Patrick, for the really informative presentation. And as you say, watch your space, because I think it's going to be an absolute game changer.
No, thank you for your comments. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, we have got a question. I knew there'd be one coming. Hi, does this mean that candidates may get a reduced amount of hours during training?
No, if we go back to table 2 that we looked at earlier, the hours within table 2 are applicable to those people with the who have the element of product technology knowledge. So you have to do the learning material and be successful on the product technology course for the hours in table 2 that we presented earlier to be relevant. So it's
that prerequisite, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously, if you've already held it, it doesn't refer to like other techniques, does it? You know, like if you've done a technique and then you do this, it doesn't matter about any other courses.
No, what you do it once to give you that overall subject matter knowledge, and then, as I say, your specific knowledge will then be tailored on your NDT method course, appropriate to the techniques that you're then going to be applying.
Yeah. Hopefully that answered that question very well. Okay, I think we're good there, Patrick. I think you got away unscathed, really, with any questions. Any hard questions, anyway? You answered them all.
I'm sure there'll be many more to come, Sam.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you'll be on hand to answer them. So like you said, though, didn't you? If anyone does have any questions, please email Patrick or Jen at BINDT, and I'm sure they'll be happy to get back to you and help move it forward for you.